I mean, it depends on everybody's, blocks. To me, perceiving. I also call it perceiving, because it's not seeing with our, physical eyes. It's perceiving. It's kind of like having a musical talent. And I've taught a lot of people. I've taught meditation for many, many years, and mediumship, where you go into trance and you channel the spirit masters. So I taught many people to develop their skills or talents. And I really found that people could be very talented, but not develop their abilities as much as someone who didn't have talent but would do the exercises.
So the spirit guide is someone you had seen since you were born?
No. Most of us in our country, in our society, aren't socialized to be able to do that. I think that most children can perceive the spirit world, but these imaginary friends are just socialized out of them. And so I never was aware of anyone, until I started studying healing in my early 20s. Exactly. It is based in the body. It's like today. I didn't want you to knock on the door because then the dog barks.
And you opened it right before.
And I opened it right when you're there.
So you knew I was coming, basically?
I didn't consciously know, but this is the whole process. We have to go with our, what we call instincts, When people are stuck, I think that there can be a lot of different factors. I don't think that there's any easy answer. I usually think that the easiest way to get unstuck, or when people have issues, or what you call neurosis, which is trying to do the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. The easiest way I find out to get out of getting stuck is on the physical. Make sure we're getting the basics. So many people don't get enough water, don't breathe, don't get enough sleep, and don't eat regularly. If you ask so many people, have you eaten in the past 2 or 3 hours? No, not really. Be able to get that basic level of physical self-care. It would help so much with the emotional and mental levels. And then on top of that is, a self-actualization or Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If there's bricks missing in that physical layer, I think that people can get stuck in this, why can't I ever feel good or be happy? Well, sometimes it's just easy. The why is because I'm not drinking any water. It sounds so simple. I don't think somebody can be happy if they're physically unhealthy. I think that they can have a front, and pretend. We all put on this face, this facade. But I think, if they go home at night and plunk down, I think that they can't truly be happy. I think I have happiness. I don't know if I have peace. I know I have peace sometimes, like when my dog's around. Yes, I lose my center when I focus on the external.
And that's the only time?
Yeah, if I can focus on the internal, which is my goal, because I believe in enjoying life and teaching others to enjoy life. That's my vision statement for myself. So in order to enjoy life, there's many factors for myself. And then I believe in giving from overflowing. So I nurture myself in order to give from overflowing and in order to teach others or help others to enjoy life.
So would you consider yourself religious?
Well, I was raised Christian, Protestant. So, I studied about it. My view on it now is if it helps somebody be more fulfilled or happy, then I think it's a good thing. For me personally, I don't find much, it's not part of my paradigm, not
Right.
part of my daily existence.
So you don't think someone has to believe in Jesus to go to heaven or have a sense of peace? You think that can be found outside of Jesus?
I believe that.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
it was pretty lonely being clairvoyant and clairaudient because, you know, you're kind of like in this world of blind people, you know, we have a different reality.
Yeah.
And one day I was with a friend and I said, do you see that person over there? And she said, yes. And I would describe one characteristic and she'd say, yes, I see that. And she described another characteristic and I had been seeing the same person. So when I realized that this stuff wasn't just my imagination, I wasn't just being psychotic, that was a big epiphany for me. And then I went to...
That was the first time you met someone who could see what you see?
Well, yeah, it was just my process of becoming aware that I could see and believing that I could see. So yeah, I mean, the leader could, you know, was clairvoyant and clairaudient, but this other student and I became really good friends. And then I went to an artist who could draw the spirit guides, and that was like a big, huge shift for me because he exactly drew my spirit guide. And it was like, that was a big shift for me, like you're talking about. Clairaudient is I can hear spirit people talking, and clairvoyant is I can see them and I can see people's auras.
So there's people around us right now you can see?
If I would look, I'm not really looking.
Oh, I see. I see.
It's an invasion of privacy to, you know, look into like you guys or anything like that. I don't use it, you know, except when somebody asks me to. I think it's an invasion of privacy. Lots of times I do what's called remote healing also, because there's no, you know, there's no physical barriers in the energy world. So a lot of, you know, people ask me to work on themselves, you know, on them, and they ask me to work on a mate or an animal, pet, but I won't tell them what's going on with the mate, you know, the spouse or whatever, because it's an invasion of their privacy.
I'm more agnostic, I'd say, about spirits rather than having any sort of fact base.
Well, see, that's how I was too, you know, because our American society is like that. You know, if it ain't solid, it ain't so. And so that's why it was so hard for me to awaken. And I remember being so afraid and so like weirded out, you know, it's like, you know, because psychotic is seeing things, right?
And hearing things.
I see people, you know, okay, right, you know. But I again and again get concrete proof for myself of what's going on. You know, it's like, especially like, for example, in my remote work with people, you know, I can text them, you know, it's like, you know, what did you just eat? You know, it's like, oh, I just ate a bag of Cheetos, you know, it's like, you know, like too much salt. And so for years and years I've been confirmed for myself, and I just have to believe in myself, and use the skill, use the talent for good. You know, I don't go around talking about, you know, I don't want to convince anybody or anything like that. It was the Healing Light Center Church with Rosalind Bruyere.
Healing Life Center Church. Okay.
Yeah. We were involved with UCLA experiment once. They would tape water onto our hands and measure it on a oscilloscope ahead of time. And there's Dr. Valerie Hunt did the research of how the water changed as we channeled energy into, you know, through ourselves. It became what's called heavy water. But, you know, the cells are made up of molecules and, you know, ions, and we know that there's an electrical charge to the skin. Mm-hmm. You know, so I was trained to be kind of like an antenna to the electromagnetic field around the earth, which is negatively charged ions. So that kind of comes up through me, and then I just kind of channel it into specific ways into the bodies. And that's the kind of healing. Yeah, I've experienced Reiki on me. To me, it was like supercharged. It was like, don't blast me. You know, it was really uncomfortable, because it was, to me, a blind person doing it. You know, it was like this huge river of energy. You know, whereas when I can do it, I can see, like, sometimes I need to pull out. You know, sometimes I need this frequency. Sometimes I need this frequency.
So do you sometimes feel overloaded and you'll turn it off on purpose?
That's why I turn it off, because it takes my neurotransmitters to perceive. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a brain event in me. I'm understanding what's going on. You know, so it is a brain event. That's why I charge money for my services. You know, because it is
taxing.
A little taxing. Although the idea is I'm the hose and I get wet in the process also. But I was a healer for 10 years. That's the only thing I did. And it was great. You know, I thrived. The only problem was I got a little shoulder issue from holding my hands out all the time.
Yeah. Are you able to heal yourself physically with
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
And yeah, so...
And every morning in the mirror, I can check my aura. So, oh, okay. Okay, I got to remember to do that. You know,
See
that
what's
kind
going
of
on.
thing. Yeah.
Since you're able to see people who have passed on, I guess, who are
Mhm.
no longer in their bodies,
Mhm.
is there anything for us to be afraid of?
You know, I taught classes about this forever, so I could go on about all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I have done exorcisms in houses, house clearings.
Mm-hmm.
What I say is, if you're a mean bully in a body, you don't change when you leave your body.
You don't?
Your personality self doesn't.
Okay. Okay.
So yes, I have known, you know, that world. The best thing is to not think about it. You know how they say, don't mess with the Ouija board, because you can invite these kinds of influences.
I see.
It's the Christian idea of good and evil. You know, Satan and God.
Right.
Every culture has this idea of good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe in, my favorite analogy for my psychotherapy clients, which is what I do now, is like the Empire Strikes Back movie. You know, just turn off the computer, which is our mind, and breathe and let the benevolent force help us.
So that the force that's not benevolent is our mind? It's nothing else?
No, I think it's a malevolent force, just like there's a benevolent force.
Okay.
And if we're unconscious, it gives the malevolent force a chance to get into us.
Yes, because I have my stepmom is very Christian, and she thinks, and I keep telling her about the Buddhist practices, meditation. She says you have to be careful opening yourself up, because you're opening yourself up to all kinds of forces too. Do you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Well, if you have a positive intention to, you know, access some Buddhist good force, you know, I suppose then that would influence and, you know, keep the malevolent forces out. But I think that cancer is a arm of the malevolent force. I think drug addiction is an arm of the malevolent force. You know, getting into people's brains.